Why nuts are such a problem and why it has nothing to do with willpower. You were never broken. You were biological. If you have struggled with nuts, I want you to know something right at the start. Your nervous system is not betraying you. Your body is doing exactly what it was designed to do. The only thing that has gone sideways is the cultural story you have been handed about what nuts are. Nuts have one of the most confusing reputations in food recovery. They are marketed as a healthy food. They show up in every clean eating recipe. Well-meaning friends offer them as a better alternative when you say you are working on your relationship with food. And yet, for a meaningful number of people I work with, nuts are one of the most reliably dysregulating foods they encounter. If that is true for you, the question worth asking is not, why can't I just have a few like a normal person? The question is, what is actually happening in my body when I eat them? There are 6 things, and they are stacked on top of each other. Once you see them, the experience starts to make sense. Number 1, the fat and calorie density combination quietly hijacks your reward system. There is a body of research from neuroscientists Dana Small, Yvonne D'Arojo, and Mark Schatzker that has written what we thought we knew that has rewritten what we thought we knew about why we crave certain foods. The short version, your brain's reward system does not primarily respond to taste. It responds to caloric density delivered to the gut. There is a pathway from the upper intestine through the vagus nerve into the dopamine-producing parts of your brain that activates without your conscious awareness. You do not have to like a food for this pathway to fire. You do not have to taste it as pleasurable. The fat shows up in your gut and the dopamine fires. Nuts are roughly 70 to 80% fat by calorie. A small handful is about 160 to 200 calories of mostly fat, delivered in a tiny volume that does not stretch your stomach enough to register fullness. Your gut detects the fat, the vagus nerve signals reward, dopamine fires, and you reach for more, long before any conscious sense of I am satisfied can catch up. The reframe. When you cannot stop at a small handful, you are not weak. You are responding exactly the way a healthy nervous system responds to a calorie-dense fat delivered to the gut. The system is working. The food is matching to the system in a way that creates the experience of, I cannot stop. Number 2, the satiety signals are easy to bypass. Your body has 2 main ways of telling you that you have had enough. Stretch, volume in your stomach, and nutrient sensing, the gradual signal from your gut that adequate macronutrients have arrived. Nuts are calorie dense and volume light. You can eat 600 calories of them and feel almost nothing in your stomach. That stretch signal, the one that normally tells your brain to stop, barely engages. Andrew Huberman has discussed the amino acid sensing system, where your brain stops eating when it perceives that you have taken in adequate amino acids. Nuts do contain amino acids, including L-tyrosine. They partially activate that system, but not enough to fully signal stop against the much louder dopamine signal that the fat is generating. So one signal whispers, slow down, while another shouts, more. The shouting wins. That is not a character flaw. That is signal to noise. Number 3, the crunch, salt, fat combination mimics the foods you used to use to cope. If your food story includes years of using crunchy, salty, fatty foods to soothe yourself, your brain has paired that exact sensory profile, hardness, crunch, salt, fat, oral satisfaction, with regulation, thousands of times through thousands of repetitions. Roasted, salted nuts deliver an almost identical sensory signature to the foods many of us once used to manage anxiety, boredom, loneliness, or stress. Your brain does not file them in a separate category labeled healthy version. It pattern matches. The neural pathway that lit up for the chips lights up for the almonds. The brain is asking for what it associates with relief. This is not deprivation talking. This is learned association, and learned associations are real, measurable, and powerful. Number 4, the healthy label disables the internal pause. This is the psychological piece, and it's sneaky. When you eat a food coded as unhealthy, some part of you actually creates a small internal pause, a noticing, a moment of awareness, sometimes even shame, which I do not love as a regulator, but I'm being honest about how it functions. That pause sometimes interrupts the eating long enough for you to ask whether you actually want more. When you eat a food coded as healthy, that pause goes silent. The internal narrative becomes, this is the good kind of fat. These are full of omega-3s. Nuts are anti-inflammatory. You can eat half a jar without the awareness check that might happen with a food you have a different story about. For people with perfectionist or rule-following recovery patterns, this is especially worth knowing. Someone white-knuckling away from one set of foods can pour all of that displaced great craving energy into a permitted food and feel virtuous while doing it. The body still knows what just happened. The story does not match the experience. Worth sitting with. If you ever finish eating something and feel a familiar internal weight that does not match what you ate, that body wisdom is real. Your nervous system reads chemistry, not labels. Number 5, stress chemistry can amplify the whole thing. Andrew Huberman and Alyssa Epple have both written about the fact that roughly half of people respond to chronic stress with reward-seeking eating, particularly towards foods high in fat and salt. The other half lose appetite under stress. 2 completely different nervous system phenotypes, both completely normal. If you are in the first group, and many of us are, your system is already tilted toward fat and salt-dense foods when you are running stressed. Nuts fit that profile. They do not become exempt because they came from a tree. To your stress-activated reward system, they read like the foods it is asking for. This is one important piece of why I do well with nuts when life is calm and lose all sense of quantity when I'm stressed. It's such a common pattern. It's not a discipline issue. It's a chemistry issue. Number 6, the mineral and nutrient signal can be real and confusing. There is a smaller piece of this involving the gut-brain feedback loop. Some people genuinely crave nuts because their bodies are signaling for magnesium, zinc, or healthy fats they are running low on. That craving is real and worth listening to. The complication. The I need this nutrient signal and the this food activates my reward pathway experience feel identical from the inside. One is information, the other is hijack. They land in your awareness through the same channel. This is where slowing down matters. A small portion, eating with attention, alongside a meal that includes other nourishment, will usually settle the genuine signal. If a small portion does not settle anything and instead opens a door, that is information about which signal was actually firing. So what does this mean for you? I want to be careful here. This is not a recommendation. This is not a rule. This is not me saying nuts are bad. Nuts are a perfectly reasonable food for many people. For some people, they are nourishing and sustaining and easy. For others, for reasons that have to do with biology, history, sensitivity, and what those foods replaced, they create a particular kind of dysregulation that does not respond to just have a few. The work is figuring out which one you are. If nuts have been a problem for you, the most important thing I can offer is this. The problem is not your character. The problem is that a calorie-dense, fat-rich, satiety bypassing, sensory matching, healthy labeled food is being eaten by a nervous system that responds strongly to exactly that profile. Of course it's hard. The hardness is not evidence of weakness. It is evidence that your system is intact. So what you can ask yourself, when I reach for them, am I hungry or am I activated? When I eat them, does my body feel met or does it feel quieter for a moment and then louder? Do I have the option of meeting whatever I am actually asking for in any other way? These are not test questions. They are noticing questions. The noticing is the practice. You are not broken. You are biological. And once you understand the biology, the conversation with yourself stops being about discipline and starts being about discernment, which is a completely different thing and a much kinder one. A note on the broader category. Footnote to the post above. Notes are not the only food that fits this profile. The mechanisms I just walked through, calorie-dense, satiety bypassing, sensory matching, healthy labeled, reward firing, show up in a lot of foods that get a free pass culturally because they are not officially junk. I am listing some of them here not as a recommendation to avoid, that is your nervous system's call to make, not mine, but because the category is what matters. If nuts are hard for you, it is worth knowing what else might be sitting in the same bucket and what is not in that bucket, even though diet culture would like you to think it is. Foods that often fit the same profile. Nut butters. All the nut chemistry, plus easier to eat quickly form, plus often added oils, salts, or sweeteners. Many people who do fine with whole nuts find nut butter significantly harder. For me personally, this was the one. There's a story I would tell about climbing the mountain that lives inside my recovery work. Cheese. Calorie dense, fat rich, salt rich, sensory satisfying, no real volume, casein derived peptides that interact with opioid receptors in some people. The fancy cheese plate framing gives it social cover. The chemistry does not care. Trail mix and granola. Nuts plus dried fruit plus often added sweeteners and oils. The combination of fat, sugar, and crunch in a portable, healthy wrapper is one of the most reliably dysregulating foods I see in clients. Dried fruit, especially the candied or sweetened kind, but even plain. Concentrated sugar in a small volume that bypasses the satiety signals fresh fruit provides through fiber and water. Chocolate, especially dark. The antioxidants frame gives dark chocolate a halo it does not always deserve. The fat sugar stimulant combination is real regardless of cacao percentage. Coconut products, chips, butter, manna, sweetened flakes, calorie dense, sensory satisfying, natural labeled. Avocado-based foods at scale. Whole avocados rarely create the issue. Avocado oil, avocado-based dips and spreads, and avocado on everything patterns can. Seed butters and tahini. Same chemistry as nut butters, with the added bonus of being newer and even more improved in clean eating circles. Olives and olive-based spreads. Fat dense, salt dense, sensory rich. The Mediterranean diet halo provides cover. Smoothies with nut butter, dates, and protein powder. A liquid version of the entire mechanism. Calorie dense, blended past the point where chewing or stretch can signal anything, often consumed quickly. Energy balls, protein bars, clean cookies. The packaged versions of all of the above with marketing that suggests they belong in a different category. They do not. Crackers and crispy snacks made from nuts, seeds, or chickpea flour. The crunch, salt, fat profile delivered through a grain-free or paleo wrapper. What is generally not in this category? Worth saying out loud because diet culture often groups them in. Whole fruits and vegetables eaten as themselves. Cooked beans and lentils. Plain cooked grains. Plain cooked proteins. Eggs. Plain yogurt without added sweeteners. These foods have either the volume, the fiber, the water content, or the slower digestion that actually engages the satiety systems your body uses. They are not exempt from being eaten compulsively. Anything can be, but they do not have the same built-in reward hijack profile. The honest reframe, the point of this list is not to add more foods to your cannot have pile. The point is to give you accurate information. If you have been thinking, I'm fine, I do not eat junk food, but I cannot understand why I still struggle, this might be part of why. The category is wider than the marketing suggests. Once you can see the category, you get to make informed choices about what serves your particular system. Some people in recovery find that some of these foods are perfectly manageable. Some find that they are not. Some find that the answer changes depending on stress, sleep, hormones, or what else is going on in their life that month. All of that is real. All of that is information. You do not need a rule. You need clarity. And clarity starts with seeing the actual chemistry instead of the marketing. With love and light, Sonja.